Needless to say, this video is going to contain massive spoilers for the events of the film Avengers Infinity War. That being said, if you choose to watch this video knowing that I've already stated that there's massive spoilers, then you kind of relinquish the right to get mad about spoilers. Also, please remember to like and subscribe and all that crap. Now that we have that out of the way, greetings, Key Issues family. For those of you who have already seen Infinity War and are not comic book experts about what the Infinity Stones do and how the Infinity Gauntlet controls them, don't worry. I am going to explain to you exactly what happened at the end of Infinity War, the secret scenes, and a few scenes that may have kind of confused you during the movie. I will also explain why you should and should not be worried. The end of Infinity War is the first time I've ever heard somebody yell, "What the hell?" at the end of the film. It was actually pretty interesting. I think people didn't really expect the Russo brothers and Marvel to go in such an incredibly bold direction. Typically in comic book movies, the good guys win and the bad guys lose, and well, Thanos won, boys and girls. He rocked it. Before I explain exactly what happened at the end of Infinity War, I kind of want to recap what led to the events of the last few minutes of the movie and the motivation of the main villain of the film, Thanos. For those of us who have seen the film, we know that the plot of the story from a high level is essentially a heist movie starring Thanos. When we first meet him, he's already established that he's in possession of the Power Stone and that he has decimated the planet of Xandar, first shown in Guardians of the Galaxy, to do so, and he's working on obtaining the Space Stone from the Asgardians. Throughout the course of the story, he manages to obtain all of the stones and construct the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet is an immensely powerful, dwarven-forged weapon that allows Thanos to harness the powers of the Infinity Stones and use them with complete mastery. So as is explained many times throughout the film, Thanos' motivations are pretty simple. He wishes to wipe out half of all of the life in the universe because he believes the universe can't sustain itself with how quickly it's expanding and overpopulating. Essentially growing up, Thanos watched poverty and resources dwindle on his own planet of Titan, and made his ultimate goal to balance the universe. He does this manually for many years, going to planets, destroying half of their population, and then watching their planets rebound into some kind of warped utopia. As the events of this amazing film climax, we reach the scene in question. Throughout the film, Thanos hints of the amazing power the Gauntlet possesses when completed. He could complete his life's work of balancing the universe with a snap of his fingers. And this is actually an amazing callback to the events of the Infinity Gauntlet miniseries from the early 90s. This miniseries, along with a Thanos Quest miniseries, serve as the direct inspiration for Infinity War and most of the last 10 years of the MCU. When the Infinity War is finally completed, Thanos snaps his fingers and disappears into a vision. He confronts a version of his adopted daughter Gamora, who he had earlier killed to obtain the mastery of the power of the Soul Stone. Now, personally, I would need direct commentary from the directors, but I believe this scene is the Soul Stone essentially asking Thanos if he's sure what he's asking for is exactly what he wants. The Soul Stone seems to be the stone capable of initiating the process of the extinction of life. Thanos' vision of Gamora asks him if his work is done, and he confirms that he has completed his goal, confirming that he's willing to pay the cost. Thanos awakens out of the vision. The gauntlet now appears to be fully exhausted of power and looks broken and tarnished. Thanos then vanishes through a portal created by the Space Stone with seemingly fatal wounds inflicted by Thor. Over the course of the next few moments, we watch as Thanos' horrifying plan comes to fruition. The power of the gauntlet chooses life forms at random to disappear into disintegration. It's unclear at this time where these characters actually go, but it's kind of safe to deduce that we're all led to believe that they're dead. This leads us to believe the following heroes are now officially out of commission: Bucky Barnes, Mantis, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Drax, Star-Lord, Groot, Falcon, Doctor Strange, and even Spider-Man. The remaining Avengers are left with the horrifying revelation that half of all of the sentient life in the galaxy has now been eliminated. We next see Thanos waking up on another planet, seemingly 100% healed from his wounds, looking out into the horizon and smiling as he's completed his life's work. It's unclear what healed Thanos from what seemed like a fatal wound from Thor, but Thanos' wounds and subsequent healing aren't really a big concern for me, though. He's an extremely powerful and resilient character in the comics, and enhanced superhuman healing is one of his abilities. It could also be assumed that maybe he has access to technology that's able to heal him, or even some exhausted power of the Infinity Gauntlet was able to help. After the credits roll, we get our secret scene. We see these events take place from the perspective of two characters we haven't seen in a while. As Maria Hill and Nick Fury are traveling through New York, people begin to disappear and vanish. When they stop to try to provide help, both Maria and Nick Fury are selected for extermination. As Fury is being disintegrated, he places a distress beacon to an unknown entity. That entity has a symbol shown on what appears to be a 90s beeper that's been modified to send communication, probably much farther out into the galaxy. The symbol associated with Captain Marvel is shown. And we do know that a Captain Marvel film is coming out later this year, and that film is set during the events of the 90s. We also know that Captain Marvel is going to be the most powerful Avenger in terms of sheer strength and ability. We don't know exactly why Captain Marvel is not on Earth, or why she's been absent from the events of the MCU so far, but it's safe to say that whatever she's doing is incredibly important if it's keeping her from Earth during these events. I think it's safe to assume at this point that Captain Marvel is going to be Nick Fury's trump card. Pulling her back into the fray might be the leverage that the Avengers need in order to find, defeat, and reverse the effects of the Infinity War. That being said, what really seemed to concern a lot of people in the theater is just what's going to happen to these disintegrated characters. Now, do I think that these characters are dead? No. Most of them seem to have sequel films already announced and in pre-production. I think it's safe to say that the events of the Avengers 4 will undo all of the deaths caused at the hands of Thanos, or at least most of them. Do I think everybody's going to come back? That question is kind of complicated. I don't think everybody who died in the film is going to come back, but probably everybody who was disintegrated will. I mean, after all, we have to get the band back together and have all of the Avengers teamed up and ready to take on the Mad Titan. I think Infinity War did an excellent job of setting the stage for the next few films. Keep in mind, we only have 2 movies coming out before the next year's follow-up Avengers film, and those movies are Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel. It's unclear if Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place before or after the events of Infinity War, but I think they kind of might be parallel. I think this because Ant-Man and the Wasp and Hawkeye are really the only members of the Avengers that we didn't get to see in this movie, so they may have a parallel adventure taking place at this time. Lastly, let's discuss the Infinity Gauntlet itself. What happened to it? Well, again, it's unclear, but it looks to be broken or drained after Thanos completes his plan. The Infinity Stones have tremendous power, but this is the first time we've seen it exhausted. It probably takes a tremendous amount of power and energy to complete the task that Thanos requested. The Infinity Stones can be destroyed, as we saw in the film, but can they be reignited or repowered? I think that's what's going to be the general plot of Avengers 4. How to get the burnt-out stones from Thanos, reignite them, and undo the effects of the Infinity War using the Gauntlet. And that's really about it for the events of the end of the film. But I have to say that maybe it's just because the memories of the film are fresh in my mind, but this really was one of my favorite Marvel movies. It feels closer to the feel of a comic book than a lot of other films. It had major consequences. It gave the remaining characters extremely strong motivation going forward. It's also the first Marvel film to give us a cliffhanger ending in this capacity, and one that was done extremely well, in my opinion. A lot of times movies that end like this feel more like large commercials for something bigger and better coming next, but this movie wasn't like that at all to me. It was just incredible. And I can't wait to see what Avengers 4 is going to be called and what's going to happen. So that is about it for this video, but you kind of know our deal if you're already a Key Issue subscriber. We want to hear from you. Let us know down in the comments section what you think happened in the end of the film, who you think is going to come back, and who you think is staying dead. And also, where do you think Hawkeye's at? What do you think that guy's doing? Let us know down in the comment section, and please remember to like and subscribe if you found this video informative, because, dude, we really need you guys to grow, and we appreciate your support. This has been Nick from Key Issues, and remember the motto, comics over everything.